Good morning to each and everyone, especially to you, Ma'am Sara Diang Mukamad. Um, our chosen topic is all about the working with children who are experiencing loss and grief. So, we chose this topic is because some of our members or one of our members in our group are extremely experiencing this kind of a situation na kung saan makaka-relate siya sa ganitong topic, and it is easy for her to share the thoughts and feelings on how this situation surpassed. Without further ado, let's continue to our topic. So, working with children who are experiencing loss and grief. According to the definition of our resource, working with bereaved children can be an emotionally challenging task for social work practitioners. Why? Then I am agreed with this statement. It is because as a social worker in the making, and my perception as a social worker is that if you are going to work with children who are experiencing loss and grief, syempre, yung emotional of that particular client or the service user is mailalabas niya. It is because you are acquired to get an information to that particular client na kung saan lahat ng mga past experiences niya or nangyari sa buhay niya ay isa-share niya sa iyo as a worker to gain that information. And with that, yung emotional experiences na pinagsasasabi niya or nilalahad niya sa iyo is that you as a social worker, nafe-feel mo yung sincerity or yung problema na kanyang kinakaharap, which is na the purpose of this topic is to know the experiences she or he have been through. And with that, as a social worker, kapag nagkakaroon tayo ng documentation or documenting the life experiences of our service user or the client, is that we are always guided with the principles through this profession, which is the number one out of seven or eight principles of social work profession is that you are obliged to the social worker obliged to control emotional involvement, which is with this case we have to control our emotional so that si client or si service user is mako-continue niya or makaka-focus siya sa kung ano man yung gusto niyang iparating sa iyo, and si social worker is that makakakuha siya ng informative information na galing sa ating service user. And according naman kay Daira Grove in 1991, the child under the age of 5 does not understand the finality of death, and that we should be careful of the terminology we use than working with them phrases. So according naman sa ating author, sinasabi na kapag ang bata ay nagkaroon ng kapag ang bata is nawalan ng magulang under the age of 5, mahirap sa kanila lalo na pag bata pa masyado sila, and then yung stage of development nila is dapat nasa stable or maligaya yung pamumuhay, which is kapag mga ganitong cases, si child or si kid na nawalan ng mahal sa buhay, hindi niya pa maiintindihan kung ano ba ang nangyayari sa kanyang paligid. Bagkus kapag ito ay iyong ini-explain or pinaliwanag sa kanya, unti-unti niyang marerealize na siya pala ay nawalan ng mahal sa buhay. And as a social worker, kapag tayo ay nag-intervene ng mga ganitong cases, according to our author, which is si Daira Grove, we have to be careful. We have to be careful to our terminologies we have using. Kasi minsan may mga salita tayo na hindi masyado accurate, or minsan nakakapagbigay intense to our client na minsan parang mas ladong na-frustrate si client, or minsan hindi na maintindihan na kung saan it can lead to a misunderstanding or misconception ng inyong pag-uusap. So yan yung pinapahiwatig ni author Daira Grove. Number one is that in serving or in knowing in working with children who are experiencing loss and grief, kailangan as a social worker we have this kind of behavior, or we have this kind of instinct or katangian, characters, which is the social worker must have to possess, which is the empathy. According to our author, which is si Carla Rogers in 1902 to 1987. He is an American psychologist who was integral in developing the person-centered approach to working with service users. His theory assumes that no one understands the service user as fully as the service user does. Rather, the help or anyone else being an expert on the service user. So, halimbawa, we, the social worker, who are a skilled professional, na kung saan sabi sa statement ni Carl Rogers na hindi maiintindihan ni service user ang kanyang mga hinanaing or the rooted of the approach problem na kung saan we the social worker must have to deliver or to make an empathy, to give an empathy to that particular client na kung saan dapat ma-feel niya na nag-empathizing tayo sa kanyang mga pinagsasasalita. Now we are in that moment na putting ourselves on his or her shoes na kung saan iniintindi natin bawat explanation, bawat paliwanag na kanyang sinasabi. With that, we can establish an rapport na kung saan si client and and the worker na magkakaroon ng informative documentation. According naman kay Miller in 2006, with this skill, you would be filling in the gaps so that person gains a clearer picture of what is really going on for them. Halimbawa na lang, kapag si client or si service user, with this skill, you would be filling in the gaps so the person gains a clearer picture of what is really going on for them. So in skills of empathic responding, earlier we talked about the empathy. Now we are going to tackle about naman sa skills of how empathic responding, kung paano siya nag-occur even when you're going to make an intervention together with your service user or the client. Number one in skills of empathic responding, malalaman mo talaga na you are listening. And number two, there are two major skills of empathic responding, which is the listening and the active listening. So the difference of these both concepts is that si listening, nakikinig ka lang sa sinasabi ni client, and then wala nang responses, ganun lang yun. But si active listening, yung pinagkaiba niya is kapag nakinig ka sa mga pinagsasabi ni client is that magkakaroon ka na rin ng feedback or responses, which is naintindihan mo yung mga pinagsasabi niya, which is nakuha mo yung point niya, which is alam mo na kung mga anong approaches or techniques ang gagamitin mo dahil you are in a state of active listening or in-embrace mo yung skills of pagiging active listener in that moment. So according here naman sa ating resource, the most basic form of listening is very convey an understanding of the content of the active user's message. As what I have said earlier, kapag you are in a state of active listener, naiintindihan mo talaga kung ano yung mensahe ng ating service user, and with that, magkakaroon ka ng responses, malalaman mo kung ano yung magiging steps or method na gagamitin mo towards towards your client na kung saan gagamitin mo para matulungan siya. According naman kay Taylor 1998, this would be where you would stated that this would be where you would relay back to the service user the content of what they have said to you in a way that they feel understood. Yun na nga ang sinasabi ko. There's a point na kapag si service user or si client is hindi na niya maintindihan or something like may mga salita na parang unnecessary or parang deep in his heart na kung saan hindi niya intensyon na sabihin pero lumabas sa kanyang mga bibig, which is dahil na rin sa kanyang emotion, and you as a worker, nire-relay back mo yung message. It is because you want to think her or him na nire-relay back mo yung message na sinabi niya in order for him to flashback or kumbaga mag-flashback sa kanya yung sinabi niya, kasi kapag si client nagkwento, minsan hindi na niya maisip kung ano yung mga nasasabi niya, so parang nirelay back mo, sinabi mo ulit, and then maliliwanagan siya to the point na ay nasabi ko pala yun. Yes, that with that moment nagkakaroon ng mga ganyang cases sa lalo na pag nag-interview ka ng isang case or ng client. So, may mga examples dito. Number one, what effect did the helper's approach have on you? So, ano yung magiging alternatives or yung magiging apekto? Ang goal naman talaga natin is napatunayan na we are the worker who are embracing or possessing this kind of profession to help in need na kung saan matugunan natin yung pangangailangan or yung aim ng ating client na matulungan sila sa kanyang problema. And with that, I think the client or si service user is magkakaroon ng alternatives which is appropriate sa kanyang sa kanyang presented problem na napag-usapan earlier. Number one example here na tanong is that tinatanong natin sa client, how did that leave you feeling? Kumbaga kung paano niya iniiwasan ang mga ganyang problema or mga ganyang pakiramdam. Kung ano yung mga ways na kanyang ginagawa para maiwasan ang incident sa kanya. So, mga ganyang cases, maaari nating malaman na ang naging kanyang way para matakasan ang mga ganong sitwasyon. So, what did they do that was effective? Yung mga alternatives ba namin is that naging effective ba siya or nagkaroon ng changes because we, a social worker or in the near future of social worker, we have to be, we the agent of change. So, dapat maging aware and dapat maging thoughtful tayo sa lahat ng mga ginagawa natin kasi tayo, this profession is, or the workers or the social work professionals is tinagurian as a profession of agent of change. So, we have here the conveying understanding of content. When we say conveying, it is talk about on how we conveying understanding of content. So, ano ba talaga yung pinapahiwati ng this concept na ito na kung saan, bakit siya relevant na mapag-usapan in the social work context. So, according to Claby, and this is also the part of our topic earlier, according to Claby and O'Connor 2004, they stated that one way of conveying understanding to the service user is to mirror what they are saying. However, this technique should be used sparingly. Ang concept na ito is nagsasabi na kapag nakaharap na natin si client, kapag nagkaroon na-establish na yung rapport na tinatawag, and then we, the social worker, inulit natin, minirror natin yung sinabi niya, like, you feel like giving up completely, na ganong situation, and with that saying, mapapastop si client natin, which is, maliliwanagan siya na kung saan, ay, nasabi ko pala iyon, and then with that, magkakaroon siya ng, ma-enlighten yung pag-iisip niya, like, bakit ko gagawin iyon, like, may mga intervention or alternatives si worker sa akin, so ba't ko sinabi yun, ay, hindi dapat ako mag-give up na ganung situation. And then with that, na-possess naman ni social worker yung pagiging empathic niya or ng pagiging understandable natin. Another is, according to Egan, 2010, the parroting is parody of responding with empathy. Minsan, hindi lang natin pinoprocess yung profession natin in a formal way. Minsan, nagkakaroon din ng kapag sobrang intensive na yung mga pinag-uusapan natin, ang ginagawa natin is that may halong patawa, which is para malesen naman yung nararamdaman ng ating client. Malesen natin yung feeling na dinadala ng ating client. Yung ibig sabihin ni Egan 2010. And another thing is that according to Ho 1998, a skill which can be used more is paraphrasing. When you're talking about paraphrasing, it is talk about the sentence that you have to paraphrase. And that would be all. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. By the way, I am Bisharity Rahib, presenting conveying empathic understanding and identifying feeling in service user. Conveying empathic understanding to the service user is highly important and recommended to use. It is usually seen as the most essential way to build a good relationships towards a service user between the counselors. This is the essential skills in building trust and rapport with service user and helping them feel listened to and understood. Understanding and conveying deep levels of empathy involves these kind of skills in order to further develop the empathy, not merely paraphrasing
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Once again, our topic is about working with children who are experiencing loss and grief. Actually, pag may nawawala sa atin na mahal natin sa buhay or pinapahalagahan natin is hindi ganun kadaling mag-deal dito. Hindi ganun kadaling mag-move forward to the point na kailangan natin ng professional guidance. And it is normal. May mga pagkakataon sa buhay ng isang tao na we can able to deal with this situation na kailangan natin ng someone na makakapag-lift up sa sitwasyon natin. So, in working with children who are experiencing loss and grief, is we have different skills or counseling skills in social work profession na makakatulong sa pag-lift up ang sitwasyon ng ng mga tao or ng sino mang makaka-experience ng pagkawala or namatayan or anything else na nawawala sa atin na pinapahalagahan natin. And as a workers, is kailangan is fully equipped tayo or fully equipped sila and the skills in order for them to work effectively with the client. So before I'm going to proceed to discuss the counseling skills na it can able to help the client to deal with their situation is let me discuss the different kinds of loss. So the different kinds of loss is as a human is magkakaiba-iba tayo ng pagbibigay ng importansya sa mga bagay-bagay. May mga bagay na importante sa ibang tao pero wala lang sa'yo. So, the different kinds of loss is this can include loss of a close friends. There's some instances na pag nawawalan tayo ng kaibigan is hindi madali sa atin para mag-move forward or to continue our lives without their presence. And ibig sabihin is sobra kang na-attach sa kaibigan mo na ito to the point na you need professional counseling, professional advices or guidances. Another is the death of a classmates, serious illness of a loved ones, relationship breakup, and that of a family member. So, kahit na anumang rason yan, kung bakit tayo nakakapil ng deep sorrow or deep sadness, ibig sabihin lang yan is sobrang mong pinapahalagahan itong bagay na ito. Since we have different kinds, we have different techniques in dealing with pain, there's some people or may ibang mga tao na hindi naman sila ganun ka-fully equipped to deal with pain. And this person needs professional counseling. Pag nawawalan tayo is normal lang na makakapil tayo ng deep sorrow. We have different reaction kapag may nawawala sa atin or kapag nawawalan tayo ng mga mahal natin sa buhay. And it's normal. It is part of our life in dunya because we are temporary. solusyonan yung mga ganitong nararamdaman natin. So siguro or surely isa sa mga paraan niya isang magkaroon tayo ng mga professional counselor na makakatulong sa mga sitwasyon natin kung nandito tayo sa ganitong senaryo. So let's proceed to using counseling skills in social work profession. The know-how, the empathy. So ito siya ay isa sa mga counseling skills na magagamit natin when we are working with children who are experiencing loss and grief. So first is let us define what is empathy. So empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So when we say empathy, it is we are emotionally understand the feeling of our client, like we are putting ourselves in someone else's situation. And the know-how empathy involves putting into your own words what the service user has said, and how might they feeling. So when we are working with children who are experiencing loss and grief, is we can use the know-how, the empathy when hindi lamang tayo nakikinig sa kanila, hindi lamang yung tainga natin yung ginagamit natin, kundi yung totality natin at higit sa lahat is yung puso natin. While nakikinig tayo sa kanila, is kailangan nating gumawa ng isang keyword sa utak natin na mag-i-explain ng lahat ng nararamdaman nila in order for us na pag tumahimik na yung client, is we can able to respond na uulitin natin kung ano yung naramdaman niya in our own words. Like, kapag sinabi ng children na nalulungkot siya, hindi niya alam kung paano siya mag-move forward, therefore, you as a workers is kailangan mong maiparamdam sa kanya na naiintindihan mo siya at nakikinig ka at alam mo yung sitwasyon niya. So, in order for the client para maramdaman niya yun, is kailangan mong isalin yung mga sinabi niya in your own words but it has the same thoughts. In other words, think about what the service user is telling you, identify their feelings, then put this into your own words and say it back to the person rather. So as I have said na in order for the client to feel the empathy, para ma-feel yung presence mo at makabuild kayo ng rapport, kailangan mong gamitin yung attentive listening mo, yung listening skills mo, na to the point na kaya mong ulitin yung sinabi niya in your own words at sasabihin mo ulit sa kanya in order for him or for her to express more at para masabi niya lahat ng nararamdaman niya, lahat ng iniisip niya para matulungan mo siya in order for you to have effective communication and effective intervention. So according to Egan 2010-3167, a way of developing your practice of empathic is to use the formula you feel because. So isa ito sa mga formula na magagamit ng mga worker para maka-emphasize nila yung empathy nila sa client nila, yung empathic responses nila. Like, you feel because, like, pag ginagamit mo yung you feel, ibig sabihin nakinig ka at naiintindihan mo because nabalik mo sa kanila kung ano yung nararamdaman nila. And this way is makikita ng kliyente mo na safe siya sa'yo at makakabuild yung client mo ng trust sa'yo na he can able to express more because nakikinig ka at kaya mo siyang tulungan. So as a conclusive statement, when we lost someone who close to our heart, is hindi ganun kadali para mag-move forward or para ipagpatuloy natin yung buhay natin. To the point na kung ano-ano na yung pumapasok sa isipan natin na kailangan nating magpakonsulta or kailangan natin ng professional counseling. Yung professional counseling as a worker para matulungan yung lahat or kahit sino man sa mga tao yung makakaramdam ng ganitong sitwasyon, is kailangan nilang maging fully equipped sa different counseling skills para makabuo sila or para magkaroon sila ng effective intervention. That would be all.